Hi, my name is Shalin Chauhan. I am Microsoft MVP, consultant and corporate trainer. JavaScript is an essential part of any web application. Also, it can be used to build backend as well as frontend. So learn to explore JavaScript element tools and discover the JavaScript or ES6 history to get started with modern JavaScript element. To start this course, no prior knowledge is required, but to do hands-on, make sure you have installed Node.js on a machine, and as an IDE, we will use Visual Studio Code. So VS Code is a cross-platform IDE which you can install on Mac, Windows, and Linux machine. So Node.js can be downloaded from nodejs.org and the VS Code can be downloaded from code.visualstudio.com. If you are coming to the channel first time, I request you to please do subscribe to our YouTube channel and click the bell icon so that the information about such valuable courses will get notified. So let's get started with the course. Introduction to JavaScript. JavaScript is an interpreted client-side scripting language developed by Netscape in 1996, and initially it was used to manipulate HTML elements, validate user input on the client side, and communicate with the server side code. It is platform independent, event driven, and dynamic language. So for running the JavaScript, we just need a browser, and that browser you can install on Windows, Mac, and on the Linux operating system as well. And everything we write here with respect to an event. It is dynamic language as well. So when we declare a variable in JavaScript, so at that time we never mention the data type, as we define the data type in static languages like C++, C#, and the Java. And nowadays it is most popular programming language to develop cross-platform desktop and mobile apps as well as web application. So in the market there are so many open source JavaScript libraries and framework the people are using for developing the cross-platform mobile application, desktop apps, and the web application as well. And the most popular JavaScript libraries and framework names are like we have Angular, we have React.js, we have Vue.js, and we have others as well. And JavaScript is compiled on the server side if it is used with the Node.js. So right now JavaScript is a programming language which is going to be interpreted within the browser, and on the server side using the Node.js it is going to be compiled. So it's going to be interpreted as well as compiled. But other programming languages like Java and the C#, these are only going to be compiled. So this is about the JavaScript. Introduction to ECMAScript. So let's understand about the ECMAScript. So ECMAScript is a scripting language specification. In short, we say it to ES. So ECMAScript is created to standardize JavaScript by ECMA International in 1997. So after the JavaScript introduction, like ECMAScript came into the picture so that the Netscape can standardize the JavaScript things. And other implementation of ECMAScript are JScript and ActionScript. So whatever the scripting languages, what are the scripting, the framework in market we have, they are actually following the ECMAScript standard. Now let's have a look on the ECMAScript version history. So ECMAScript first version was released in June 1997 to standardize the JavaScript. Then we have the second version in June 1998. So there are some editorial changes. So there are no so much the new concept were introduced in the ECMAScript version 2. Then we have ECMAScript third version, that is also known as ES3. So it was released in December 1999. So with this ES3, we have a regular expression, try catch, exception handling, new controls statement like for in. Then we have ES5 in December 2009. So with the ES5 we have new features like getters and setters, strict mode, and the support for the JSON. Then we have ECMAScript 2015, or you can say the ES6. So it was released in June 2015. So with ES6 we have classes, arrow function, let and constant keyword for defining a variable. We have spread operator, rest and default parameters within the function. We have for loop, we have promises, and we have the modules. So ES6 introduced so many features which actually we can use for writing our JavaScript code in better way. Then we have ES6, or you can say the ECMAScript 2016. It was released in June 2016. So with ES7 we have exponential operator like double asterisk. Then we have array.prototype.includes. So these are the main features we are discussing here. Apart from these features, we have other changes as well as per the release of each and every version. Then we have ECMAScript 2017, or you can say the ES8. So it was released in June 2017. So with ES8, we have string padding with pad start and the pad end. We have object values and the object entities. We have trailing commas in function parameters list. We have async function with async and await keyword so that we can write the code for asynchronous programming, and we have observable streams as well. These are the various versions for ECMAScript. But you know guys, the right now the widely accepted version of ECMAScript is ES5. So if you are planning to target the older version of browser, like we have Internet Explorer 9, 10 and 11, so ES5 is widely supported. So ES6 is only supported in the latest browser, like we have Chrome, Firefox, we have the Microsoft Edge browser, that is the latest one. And for the ES7 and ES8, we have the same thing. JavaScript versus other static languages like C# and the Java. So let's see how the JavaScript is different from other static languages like we have Java and the C#. So first have a look on the JavaScript. So JavaScript is an object-oriented programming language because everything moves around the object. And if you're talking about the static languages like Java and the C#, so these are the class-based language because what are the code we write in C# and the Java, we write within a class. Outside the class, you cannot write the code in Java and the C#. But in JavaScript, it is possible. It is not mandatory to create an object everywhere. And here in JavaScript, by default, everything can act as an object. So that's why JavaScript is said to, it is an object-oriented language. And in the JavaScript, there is no distinction between the types of object. So when you create an object in JavaScript, so to that object, you can assign any object type of value. So there is no distinction between the types of the object. But if the same thing we have in the Java and the C#, so if you have created an object in the C# and the Java, so let's say if you have created an object of employee type, so now you can assign only the employee type of object to that object. But in JavaScript, if you have created an object of employee, so to the employee object, you can assign the customer object as well because there is no type distinction. But in Java, C#, like other static languages, there is a distinction between the types of object. So if you have created an object of student type, only student type instance can be assigned to them. The customer you cannot assign. And in JavaScript, the properties and methods can be added to any object dynamically. It means if you have an object in JavaScript and if you want to add some extra properties and methods later on after creating the object, you can do it. But in static languages, it is not possible. So classes and instances cannot have the properties or method added dynamically. So whatever the properties and methods we have within a Java class and the C# class, only those we can access. The dynamically, like on the fly, based upon the requirement, we cannot add the properties and methods directly to a particular object. If there is a requirement, you have to add into the class. And JavaScript supports typical prototypical inheritance. So there is a prototypical inheritance supported by the JavaScript. But the static languages support the classical class-based inheritance because in C# and the Java, we create the parent class, then we create the child class, then we define the hierarchy between the classes. But in JavaScript, there is a prototype. Using the prototype, we do the inheritance. And in JavaScript, variable data type is not declared. So when we declare a variable in JavaScript, so at that time we never mention the data type. We always define the variable in JavaScript like var x equal to like 5. But in Java and the C#, we have the static typing. So when we declaring the variable, at the same time it is mandatory to specify the data type. So let's say if you are defining a variable of integer type, so we mention there int x, then assign the value. Let's say we define, let's say string str, then equal to value. But in JavaScript, we don't have the data type because JavaScript is a dynamic language. So data type is going to be decided on the runtime. But in C# and the Java, the data type would be decided on compile time. That's why this is a static language and the JavaScript is a dynamic language. So these are the differences between the JavaScript and other static languages. Setting up dev environment. So let's see how we can set up the JavaScript development environment. So for the JavaScript development environment, we can set up on Windows machine, we can set up on Mac, we can set up on Linux or Ubuntu as well. Because JavaScript we can run everywhere. It doesn't mean you have to purchase like Windows or Mac or Linux or Ubuntu. So what are the operating system you have right now? So one of them you can use for the JavaScript development environment. Here I'm just showing you the development environment based upon the Node.js. So let's see how we can set up the environment on Windows, Mac or Linux. So make sure you have downloaded the Node.js on your machine. So Node.js you can download from the nodejs.org, and as an IDE I'm just going to use here VS Code. So VS Code is a open source cross-platform IDE which we can run on Windows, Mac, Ubuntu and Linux as well. So I have mentioned the URL from where you can download the Node.js and you can download the VS Code as well. Now after downloading these two softwares, you can verify the development environment for the Node.js. So what I'm doing here, I'm using the VS Code. So the VS Code I'm just opening here. So this is my VS Code here. So guys, when you will open the VS Code first time, it will look like this way. So we'll get the welcome page. So from here there is an option to open a folder. So what you can do here, you can create a folder in any drive. So what I'm doing here, let me open a folder. And what I'm doing, I'm just creating a folder on my desktop. So what I'm doing, I'm just creating a folder with the name JS, and in the JS folder I can open through the VS Code. Now just close the welcome page, and here I'm just adding a simple file. So file I'm defining, let's say here a variable.js file I'm adding here. Now here we can define a variable. Let's say I'm defining a simple JavaScript variable. Let's say where x equal to 5. And if you want to see the output for this variable, so in JavaScript we have console.log. So we have to use console.log, then mention here x. So it will show us the value of x. And here we have already installed the Node.js. So using the Node.js, I will execute this variable.js file. So what we can do here in the VS Code, we have the menu. So the menu I'm just opening here by pressing the Alt key in my keyboard. Then there is option here, the integrated terminal. So I'm opening here the integrated terminal. There is a shortcut as well, Control plus, and we have backticks. So now open the integrated terminal. So it automatically open the integrated terminal within this JavaScript folder. So you can see this is a location here, user, Shailendra, we have desktop, then we have JS file. So first of all, make sure you have installed the Node.js. So Node.js you can verify by running the command node dash version. If Node.js is installed, it will show you the install version of Node.js. So in my case it is 8.10. It might be in your case 10.0, like 11.0, 12.0, whatever the Node.js version is available at that time. So now I can execute this variable file by using the command node and the file name variable. So file extension is optional here. You can skip or you can mention that as well. Now just mention a node variable. You can see I'm getting here output as 5. So in this case, we have successfully executed our variable.js file using the Node.js. So what we are doing here, if you have the idea of the Java and the C# language, so there also we take the help of command prompt, and in the command prompt we execute our code here. And you know guys, it might be the case sometimes you need to configure the Node.js environment variable. So for setting the environment variable, we have the computer, then we have the properties, and then there is option here advanced system setting. In the advanced system setting, we have the environment variable, and in the path option, you can check whether we have the path for the Node.js or not here. So you can see here, here I have just mentioned the path here for the Node package manager. So this path is automatically added here when I install the Node.js. But sometimes if the Node.js you have installed and Node.js command prompt is not working, you have to mention the path here. So cool, we have that element environment set on our machine so that we can write the code. So in the next lecture, we will do the hands-on with the Node.js. JavaScript data types. So first of all, let's understand about what is data type. So JavaScript is a dynamic language. So when you declare a variable in JavaScript, so you can assign or you can store any type of value to that variable. So let's say we have defined a variable x. So to the x I can assign a number, let's say x equal to 5. I can assign a string as well. So here x can accept the number, the x can accept the string because it is a dynamic language. But here when we are assigning the value to the variable, so based upon the assigned value, the performed operations can be decided on that variable. So let's say if you are assigning a number to the x variable, so we can perform all the number operations. We can perform all the arithmetic operations there. But if you are assigning a string, so we can perform the string operation like a string concatenation, like substring, like a string slice. So all the string operation we can perform if we are assigning a string value to the x variable. Even the data types specify how the memory would be allocated to a variable. So like whether the memory would be allocated in the stack, whether the memory would be allocated in the heap. So based upon the assigned data, the memory allocation would be decided. And this is in each and every programming language. So when you're talking about like the data type of a variable, so based upon the data type, the memory allocation, the operations which we can perform are decided on that variable. Now let's understand what are the different types of data type we have in JavaScript. So JavaScript data types we can categorize mainly into two categories. Like first one is here primitive and the second one is here non-primitive. So primitive you can think just like we have the value type in C# and the Java, and the non-primitive you can think just like we have the reference type in C# and Java. So in the primitive we have the number, we have the string, we have the boolean, we have the null, we have the undefined. So null and undefined we can also put in the category of primitive type, but some people put in a special category like a special data type. So in the primitive data type, if you want to store a number, so we can store any number here. So here we don't have the integer data type. Here we don't have the decimal data type as we have in C++, C# and the Java. So here we have only one data type on number, that is number itself. We have the string. So there is no char data type as we have in C, C++ and Java. So whatever the strings we have, we can assign to the string. We have the Boolean type. So Boolean type can accept the true and false value. We have the null. If you want to assign a default value to a variable, we can assign it with null. We have the undefined. So if we are not assigning a value to a variable, so by default value for every variable in JavaScript would be undefined. In non-primitive, we have the object. So in object, we can assign any object value. So generally, we create the object here using the single curly braces. We have the array. If you want to store some data in a collection, so there is a array collection here we can use. We have the function to perform a set of operation, or if there is a requirement to reuse a set of operations, so with the help of function we can reuse. We have the date as well. So if you want to get the current date and time, if you want to perform some date manipulation as well, let's say you want to format the date either in DDMMYY format or like in MMDDYY format. We have the regex as well for storing the regular expression. So regular expression we can use, let's say, for validating the email ID, for validating the contact number, or like for validating the only numeric values. So these are the mainly data types we have in JavaScript. In the next lecture, we will discuss about the primitive and the non-primitive data types in details. Variables and statements. So let's see how we can create a variable in JavaScript. So a variable can be defined by using the var, let, and the constant keywords in JavaScript. So if you're comparing the var, let, and the constant keywords, so here var does not support the block scope. The var keyword only supports the function scope, and the var keyword is available from the initial release of JavaScript. And the ES6 introduced two more keywords, like we have let and the constant keywords as well now. for defining our JavaScript variable. So how these two are different from the where? So let and the constant keyword support the block scope. It means if you are defining a variable within the if block, within the for block, within the switch statement, so its scope will limit it within the block. It's not just like var type, because if you're defining a variable using the var within the if block, you can access that variable outside the if block as well. So a variable in JavaScript we can define using the var, let and the constant keyword. So the let and the constants are available from ES6. So now here you might be wondering like what is the difference between let and the constant keyword. So if you're defining a variable using let keyword, so that variable value you can change a number of times in your entire application. But if you have declared a variable using the constant keyword, so that variable value you cannot change. So generally, if there is a requirement to define a constant, like if you are willing to define a variable which value you don't want to change throughout the application, then we use the constant. So let's say constant we can define like we have the pi constant having the value 3.14, and the constant in JavaScript we also use for creating the objects as well, for creating the anonymous function as well, because we don't want to change the behavior of our function which we are assigning to a variable. So let's see how we can use these three variables for creating the variable. Here I already have the VS Code, and the VS Code I have a variable.js file which we have created when we set up the development environment for our JavaScript. So what I'm doing here, so here I'm just creating a block. So let me create a block. Here I'm creating a block, and in the if, what I'm doing here, I'm just making the condition as true, and in the if block I'm just creating a variable using the var keyword. I'm creating a variable using the let keyword. I'm assigning the value. I'm creating a variable using the constant keyword, and in constant I'm defining a variable name as pi. So pi value we have the constant as 3.14. So if you are willing to access the value of x, y and pi within the if block, so we can easily access, there is no issue here. So I can use here console.log, and I'm accessing the value for x. So what I'm doing here, I'm just doing the string concatenation here for showing the value. So it will be here x plus comma y then column. So guys, here you can use either single quote, either double quotes for the string concatenation. It doesn't mean if you are not comfortable, I'm using here a single quote only. So I'm just using here y plus, then I'm using here pi colon, then mention the value that will be here. So this way I have added the value for x, y and pi. But if the same thing you are trying to access outside the if block, so outside the if block I can access the value only for x. I cannot access the value for y and the pi, because the let and the constant keyword only support the block. So let's check this one. So for running the code, I'm using here node variable, and you can see here I'm getting the error. So first I'm getting the output here like x equal to 5, y equal to 6, then pi equal to 3.14. So here I forget to mention the comma, and if you will see here in the line number 10, I'm getting the error like y is not defined. So this is line number 10 where I'm getting the error here, y is not defined, and when this error will be done, then it will show us the like pi is not defined, because y and the pi we can access only within the if block. We cannot access outside the if block. So here we can access only x. I cannot access the y and the pi. Now let's again run the same program by running the same command node and variable. So you can see here this time getting here x colon 5, y colon 6, pi colon 3.14, then we have x colon 5 outside the if block. So in this way we can create the variable using var, let and the constant. And even if you want to change the value for the y, so a value of y I can change because I have defined it using the y keyword. So in the next line I can change its value, let's say y equal to 8. It's possible. But if you will try to change the value for the pi, so it will show us the error. Let's say I'm just making it 3 only. So it's showing us I'm just assigning a value like pi equal to 3. So if you will try to run the code again like node and variable, so you can see here I'm getting the error. So error is here. So this time it is saying like in the line number 10. So if you will try to run the application now, so let me run the application. Let's say node and variable. I'm running the variable file here using the node.js. So you can see here I'm getting the error here like the assignment to the constant variable. That is a type error, assignment to the constant variable, and line number is 9 here. So in the line number 9, we cannot actually change the value for pi, but we can change the value for y. So if we will comment this line and run the program again, it will work fine without any issue. So not variable. You can see I'm getting the value here perfectly. So the constant variable value we cannot change throughout the program. So only one time assignment is allowed in case of constant variable. But in case of let variable, you can assign its value to a number of times. And here also you can assign its value to the number of times. But here x we can access outside the if block as well, because var keyword does not support the block scope. So here x variable is working just like a global variable we have in our this variable.js file. Numbers. So let's see how the numbers works in JavaScript. So numbers can be written with or without decimal. So in JavaScript, if you want to define a number, so number can have the decimal, it cannot have the decimal. So in JavaScript, we don't have the integer type, we don't have the float, we don't have the double, we don't have the decimal number. So in JavaScript, a number is a 64-bit floating number, similar to double in Java, similar to double in C#. So there is no integer type. So there is no floating type. There is no decimal type. And a number has special values as well, like nan and infinity. So nan stands for not a number, and infinity you will get when you are trying to divide a number with 0. And then you will get when you are trying to perform an operation between a number and between, let's say, string, between number, between, let's say, undefined. And in JavaScript, the extra large and extra small numbers can be written with exponent notation. So as we write the exponential number in mathematics, same way we can write in JavaScript as well. So we can write here like 1.2 e to power 5 or 1.2 e to power minus 5. So e to power 5 for extra large number, e to power minus 5 for extra small. And numbers can be object. So numbers we can also create as an object as well. So it's up to you whether you want to use the number as a primitive type, whether you want to use as a non-primitive type. Because in JavaScript, the things can act as an object. So let's see how we can use these numbers here. So I have the last folder I have already opened in my VS Code. And what I'm doing here, I'm just adding a new file for numbers. So numbers.js. I have added this file. Now here let's see, define two number here. I'm defining let num1 equal to 2, num2 equal to, let's say, 4. I'm defining. Now let's perform here the number sum. So what I'm doing here, let result equal to num1 plus num2. So let's see what the result we are getting here. So I'm just using here console.log and I'm just using here result colon and then specify the result value. So it will be here result. So this is simple mathematics. So what the output we will get here output as 6, because 2 plus 4 obviously would be here 6. Now I said here we have a special number as well, nan, not a number. Let's say here we have like a result 1, and the result 1, what I'm doing here, I'm just trying to divide the number with a string, let's say hi. So what will happen here, hi is a string and num1 is a number. So hi is not a number. So what we will get as an output, we will get here none, not a number. The same you can verify by using here console.log, and what I'm doing here, I'm just using here, let's say num1 divide by hello. So what we will get, I'm just using here result 1. So we will get here as a result none. So we'll get here none. So none is the output here. Now here I said to you we have the infinity as well. So for the infinity, what we can use a let result. I'm using here 2 equal to num1 divide by 0. So obviously in mathematics we get the infinity number. Same output we will get here like console.log, and it will be here, let's say num1 divide 0 and then output result 2. So it will be here result 2. So let's see what the output we are getting here. So for running this file, just use a node and I'm just using a numbers. You can see I'm getting here result as 6. I'm getting here none, not a number. I'm getting here infinity. And here I said to you like numbers can be an object. So these are not the object actually, these are the simple number. Let's say if you want to define a number as an object, so I can define as an object as well. Let's say I'm defining here a number 3. So what I'm doing here, I'm just using here the number constructor for defining my number. So I'm just passing here, let's say 5. And if you want to find out whether the num3 is an object or like num1 is an object, so what we can do here, we can use here type of num1. Let us use here type of num1. It will show us the type of num1. Same way we can check the type of num3 as well. Num3. So what we will get type of num1? We will get the number, and here we will get the object because num3 is an object type. Now let's verify the same output, note numbers. So you can see here the type of num1 is a number and the type of num3 is object. So number can be object, but it is not recommended to create the number as an object because the object impact the performance. So performance wise, the simple numbers are faster than the object type number. So always use the simple number, don't create the number as an object. A number we can also write in exponential form as well. So let's see how I can write the number in exponential format. So what I'm doing, I'm defining a number, let's say num4 equal to like 1.2 e to power 4. So this is the positive number. We can also write the smaller exponential number as well. So what I can do, I can use a let's say let num5 equal to 1.2 e to power let's say -4. I'm writing here. Let's see how the output we will get here. Console.log, it will be here num4, and so it will be here let's say exponential number, exponential larger number, we can write like this way, and it will be exponential smaller number, so it will be here num5. So let's see how these are looking. Run the same command node number. So you can see I'm getting here the 12,000. I'm getting here 0. Then 00012 because this is the positive power, this is the negative power. So obviously here it is going to be multiplied with 10,000 and here it is going to divide by 10,000. So in this way we can write the number in exponential format as well. So this is about the numbers in JavaScript. Number methods. So let's see what are the different methods we can use on the number. So we have toString method. So toString methods returns a number as a string. So if you want to convert a number into a string, so by calling the toString method, we can convert it. Even using the toString method, we can convert a number into binary, into octal and hexadecimal as well. Then we have toExponential method. The toExponential method returns a number as a string with an exponential notation and rounded. So it will do the rounding of the numbers as well. Then we have toFixed number. So toFixed number returns a number as a string with the specified number of decimal and rounded. So what are the number we will pass to the toFixed method, to that point it will do the rounding. So let's see how we can use all these three methods on a number. I have the previous code. So what I'm doing here, I'm just adding a one new file here, name as number dash method.js file. What I'm doing here, first I'm just going to use the toString method. So let's define a number. So num1 I'm using here 4, and we have the number as well. Let's say we have num1, num2 equal to, let's say I'm using here, let's say I'm using here 8, num3 I'm using here, let's say 14. We want to convert these numbers into a string. So what I can do, I can use here console log. So simple, just convert the number 1 into a plain string. So it will be here a number to a string. So I'm just using here num1 dot to a string method I'm calling. And same way I can convert the number into binary. So I'm just using here like binary. So for converting the number into binary, just pass 2 for binary. Same way we can pass number to octal. So for octal, I'm just using here, let's say num2, and the num2 I'm just using here, let's say 8 I'm using here. And here just do one thing, in place of using 8, just use here 10. That will convert into the octal. Same way I can convert into hexadecimal as well. So it will be here hexadecimal. And in case of hexadecimal, I'm using here num3 so that we have the a hexadecimal number so that you can understand. So for hexadecimal, just pass a 16. So let's see how we will get the output. So for just run the application, just run this file node number des methods, and you can see I'm getting here, in case of number two I'm getting here 4 as it is, but in case of binary, so binary for number 4 is 100, and the octal for 10 number is 1 and 2, so you have to divide the 10 with 8, so we'll get 1 and 2. Then we have 14, so for 14 the hexadecimal is E, because after the 10 the things are going to be changed like A, B, C, D and E, so that's why I'm getting here E for the 14. So in this way we can use toString method. Now let's come to the second method. So second method is toFixed. If you want to fix a number to a specified point of decimal. So let's say I have a number here. So I'm just using here num4 equal to, let's say 1.23, and I'm just using a 66341. And now just fix this number console.log. I'm just using here fix. I'm just fixing this. So how I can fix it? Just use here num4 then dot to fixed. So I want to fix it to the 2 points of decimal. So I'm just passing here 2. So what it will do, it will round off the number. So here this 3 will convert into the 4 because after the 3 we have the 6, and this 6 is greater than 5. But if you want to fix it to the 3 places, so it will be only 1.236 because after the 6 I have the number less than 5, so it will be here 1.24 as an output I will get here, as here as an output I will get here 1.236 because after the 6 number is less than 5. So let's see how I'm getting the output. So it will be here node and number methods. So you can see here I'm getting the output is at 1.24 because after the 3 we have the 6 which is greater than 5, so it is going to fix the number to the 2 decimal of points, and it is fixing the number up to 3 decimal of points. And let's see how we can use the third method, that is to exponential, like how we can convert a number into exponential. So let's define a number. So I'm just using here num5 equal to like 1 2 3 6 3 4 2, the same number I'm using here as I have defined at the top level, but this is not having any decimal. Now just console.log, and it will be here exponential number colon, then comma, it will be here, let's say num5. I'm just converting into 2 exponential. So here you have to pass the fraction digit, like how many digit you want to show after the fraction. So let's say I'm using here, let's say I'm using here again 2. So let's see what the output we are getting here. So you can see I'm getting here a 1.24 because here I'm just going to mention here 2 digit for the fraction, that's why it's doing the round off here. But if you will mention it 3, I will not get the round off. It will be here 1.236, then e ki power 5 I will get here. So here it will be here 1.24 e ki power 6, and here will be here 1.236 e ki power 5 because we have added one more fractional digit. So let's see. So here I'm getting here 1.236, and e ki power 5 we will e ki power 6 we will get here. So here you can see how many fractional digit we have. So we have here 1.23 e ki power 6, 1.24 e ki power 6 here. In this way we are getting the output. So we are getting here e ki power 6 because here the total number of digits are 7, and one digit we are putting without decimal and other digit we are putting here with decimal. So that's why every time you will get here 6 as a power of e. So in this way we can use toString, toFixed, and the to exponential number in case of number. We have other methods as well. I'm just covering the most important one generally people use. Methods for converting values to numbers. So let's see what are the various methods we have in JavaScript if you want to convert a value into number. So first method is parseInt. So parseInt method convert a value to integer. Then we have parseFloat. So parseFloat convert a value into floating type number. We have a number as well. So number converts a value into number. Now let's understand all these three methods with the help of the example. So for understanding the conversion, let's do one thing. Just add one more file, and the file name I'm adding here, let's say conversion.js. And in the conversion file, what I'm doing here, I'm just defining a number, let's say num1 equal to, and this number I'm just going to assign by parsing a string. So what I'm doing here, I'm just using here parse int, then pass a string. I'm passing a, let's say 1 2. So 1 2 string I'm passing it, so it will be converted into the 12. Now let's check the output console.log, and it is here parse int, then comma num1. So we will get here 12 because the pass string containing only numeric characters. So let's check the output. So it is here node and conversion. You can see I'm getting here 12. But let's say I'm passing here a mix of numbers, characters and string. Let's say I'm passing here x 0 a. So what we will get the output. So now we will also get the 12 as output because it will do the conversion till it is getting the, the string character. So let's see the output node conversion. I'm getting here is still 12 because this string is containing 12 the numeric value till this character only. After that I'm getting here a character x, then I'm getting 0, then a. If you are using here an empty string, so if we are passing the empty string, and so we will get here none as output. So same you can see I'm getting here none. And same way in place of parse int we can use here the parse float as well. So parse float will convert a string a value into the floating type number. So let's say num2 equal to I'm using here parse float. I'm passing here let's say 12.4. So this is a number string. If I will console its value console.log, and it would be here parse float colon, then it would be here num2. So what the output we will get? We will get the output as 12.4. That is your node conversion. I'm getting here 12.4. If I will pass here some alphabets as well, like some string, let's say I'm passing here, let's say C, W, 2, 3. So what I will get, I will still get the same output 12.4. So here also I'm also get the output 12.4. Here also I'm get the output 12.4. You can see I'm getting the output as 12.4. But here again, if I'm passing the empty string, so in case of empty string, I will get the none. So let num2 equal to, it is here parse float. I'm passing here empty string, and let's check the output. So we will get here none as output. I'm getting the none. Now in this case, we have here one more method, that is number. So let's say how we can use the number. So I'm defining a num3, and in place of using the parse float and parse int method, we can use directly the number method. So whatever the string we are passing here, that string it will try to convert into the number. So here there is no parsing of a string till we are getting the only number digit in the string. It is going to convert the entire string directly into the number. So here also we will get the output as 12.4 because the passed string is containing only digit. So it is here, let's say number, then it will be here num3. So I'm getting the output as 12.4. Let's verify the output. It is 12.4. But if I will pass here a, a string character, let's say I'm passing here, let's say x w. So what will be the output here? Now it will not return the output 12.4. It will return the output as none, not a number, because what this value we are passing, it is not a proper number. So in case of number, what the value we are passing, that should be a proper number if you want to convert that value into the number. So let's see how we are getting the output. You can see I'm getting the none in case of number. But if I will pass here a empty string, so what output I will get? I will get the output as 0. So this time we'll get the 0 if you are passing the empty string here. So let's check. You can see I'm getting here 0. So these are the three methods you can use for parsing your value into the number. And you should know how these are behaving and how these are different from each other. Even in case of performance wise, parse float is a little bit slow as compared to the number. So if you are sure about like what the value I will get, it will contain only digit, so just use number. And where you feel like what the value I will get, it may contain some characters, then use parse int and the parse float depending upon what the numbers you want to get. So this is about the conversion in JavaScript. Boolean. Let's see how we can use Boolean type in JavaScript. So Boolean type accepts two values, true or false. So when we declare a variable as Boolean type, so we can assign it to either true value, either false value. And the result of comparison operators or comparison expression returns a Boolean value. So when you are writing any comparison expression within a if block, so there we get the Boolean value as a result. So either you will get true, either you will get false there. And Boolean values true or false with numbers used as 1 for true and 0 for false. You can say when we are using the true and false with numbers, so they become 1 and 0. So 1 for true and 0 for false here. And Boolean values true or false with strings used as it is. Means there is no change if we are using the Boolean value with the strings. So true will be true as a string and false will be false as a string. And Boolean can be objects. So as we can create the numbers as an object, same way we can create the Boolean as an object. But object type is not recommended because object type impact the performance. The object type slow down the performance. So always use the primitive type. Don't use the Boolean as an object. So let's see how we can use the Boolean type in JavaScript. So here I already have the VS Code, and what I'm doing here, I'm just adding a file here. So I'm adding a file named as boolean.js, and in the boolean.js file, what I'm doing, I'm just defining two variables, let x equal to true and y equal to false. So these x and y are the booleans variable, and we are assigning true and false values respectively. Let's see when we will use the booleans with numbers, so how they will behave. So for this one, let's use two numbers here. Let's say num1 equal to, I'm using here 2, and num2 equal to, I'm using here 5. And now we can do here the number mathematics. So let define a variable result1 equal to, I'm just using here, let's say num1 plus x plus num2. So we are just doing the sum of two numbers 2 and 5, and I'm just including the true value as well. And same way I'm using here, let result 2 equal to num1 plus y plus num2, and let's see how we are getting the result here. So as a result, I'm just using here console.log and then show the sum of num1 plus x plus 2. So it will be here equal to, and see what the output I'm getting here as result 1. Same way I can use here for result 2 as well. So it is here num1 plus y plus num2. It will be here result 2. So let's see how we can get the output when we are using the Boolean values with numbers. So just use here node and Boolean. You can see I'm getting here the sum of number 1 2 plus x, true will replace by 1. So 2 plus 1 plus 5 equal to 8. And here y is going to replace by 0. So I'm getting a 2 plus 0 plus 5 equal to 7. So here x is replaced with 1 and y is replaced by 0. Now let's see when you are using the booleans values with strings, so how these are behaving. So just do one thing, just define a string variable str equal to, I'm using here hi, I'm using here str2 equal to, it will be here, let's say js. Now here again just define two result, let's say let result 3 equal to, it will be here str1 plus x plus str2. So I'm just using here plus operator here. So when you will use plus operator with this string, so it behave as a string concatenation. So it will try to concatenate the hi plus true plus js. So we are just doing a string concatenation. Same way I can use here result 4, and in case of result 4 I'm using here y, and again it is str2. Now let's see how we are getting the output. So for the output just use a console.log, and I'm using a str1 plus x plus str2 equal to, it will be here result 3. Then I can use a result 4 as well. So it is here str1 plus y plus str2. So let's see how we are getting the value of boolean type with this thing. Now again in the same file, so I'm getting here hi true JS and high false JS. So the true and false are going to be used as it is as a string. So in this way, Boolean type is behaving with the numbers and the string with 1 or 0 and as it is string. Null and undefined. Let's see how we can use null and undefined in JavaScript. So let's start with null. So null is used to define the initial value for a variable. So when you are declaring a variable in JavaScript, and if you want to assign the default value, or you can say the initial value to that variable, so with the help of null we can initialize that variable. So null becomes 0 when we use it with numbers, and null becomes null as a string with a string type. So if we are using null with a string concatenation, it will be used null as a string as it is. And the type of null is an object. So if you will use the type of operator to find out whether it is a null like object, so you will get always as an object. Then we have undefined. So generally people are confused with between the null and undefined. So both are different. So when you are declaring a variable in JavaScript without assigning a value, so by default that variable value would be undefined, means you have not defined that variable value, so that's why it is undefined. So anything in JavaScript it is not defined, written as undefined. And undefined is also a return type of a function. So by default return type for a function in JavaScript is also undefined. So if your JavaScript function is not returning anything, so that function will return undefined. When undefined is used with the number expression, it returns none. So if we are using undefined with the number for doing the number mathematics, like doing the sum calculations, you always get none, not a number. And when undefined we use with the string type, it becomes undefined as a string. So null and undefined both behave as same with the string, and type of undefined is undefined. But if you will see in the last slide, the type of null was object, but here the type of undefined is undefined. So let's understand the null and undefined with the help of example. So I already have the JavaScript project. So what I'm doing here, let's add a new file for null. So I'm adding here null.js file so that we can do the hands-on with null. So what I'm doing, I'm defining a variable let x equal to null. Now this null I'm using here with numbers. So let's see how we can use the null with numbers. So let's define two number. Let num1 equal to, I'm using here 2, num2 equal to, I'm using here let's say 5 I'm using. Now let's write expression, and that expression result I'm just going to store in result 1. So it is here, let's say num1 plus x plus num2. So it will return the sum of number 1 plus x and plus number 2. Now let's see what the output I will get. So console.log, and now just mention here what the numbers and null we are adding here. So it will be equal to, then comma, it will be here result 1. So let's see what the output we are getting. So null will become 0 if we are using with numbers. So it will be a not null. You can see I'm getting here the output of num1 plus x plus num2 as 7, because 2 plus 5 as 7. So x is 0 here. Now let's see use the null with the strings. So what I'm doing, I'm just defining here a string. Let's say str1 equal to, I'm using here hi. I'm using here str2 equal to js. Now just define the sum of, so just do the string concatenation. So str1 plus x plus str2. So this is the string concatenation we are doing here. Now use console.log and just see what the output we will get. So null with a string will become null itself. So we will get the null as a string if we are using it with the string. So let's see use here node null. You can see I'm getting here hi null js. So null will become null with a string here. Now let's understand the undefined. So for undefined, what I'm doing here, I'm just adding here one more file here for undefined .js. And in the undefined, so if you are not declaring, if you are not assigning the value to a variable, so this is my x variable, and here I'm not assigning any value. If you want to check the output for this x, so we will get here variable value as x undefined. So the by default value for a variable would be here undefined. So let's see what the output I'm getting here, node and undefined is my file name, and you can see I'm getting here variable value as undefined. Now let's use the undefined with numbers. So I'm using here the undefined with numbers. So let num1 equal to 2, num2 equal to 5 I'm using here. Now let's do the sum of num1 plus num2. So it is a result 1 equal to, it will be here num1 plus x plus num2, this way. Now let's console the value of result. So when I'm consoling the value of result, we will get here, so it is here equal to, then comma, result 1. So we are just trying to perform the add operation between two numbers and the undefined variable. So what we will get as an output, we will get nan as an output. So let's see. So node and undefined. So you can see what output I'm getting. I'm getting the output as nan, not a number. But same I'm using here with this string. So with this string I'm using here, let's say let str1 equal to, I'm defining here hi, str2 equal to, I'm defining here js. Now let's do here string concatenation. So it will be here result2 equal to, it will be here str1 plus, it will be here x plus str2. So let's see what the output we will get here. So console.log, and as output we will get here hi, undefined and js. So it will be here comma, it is here result 2, this way. So let's see what the output we are getting here. You can see I'm getting here hi, undefined js. So undefined is going to be undefined if we are using with this string, and if you are using it with numbers, it is also undefined. So when you will try to perform the operation between undefined and number, you will get none always. So this is about the null and undefined. JavaScript operators. So let's see what are the various operators are supported by JavaScript language. So an operator is a special symbol that tells the compiler to perform a specific mathematical or logical operation. So without operators, we cannot do the mathematical or logical operation in any programming language. So every programming language has a set of operators. So JavaScript is also having. So operators in programming languages are taken from the mathematics. So as we have the operators in mathematics like plus, minus, multiply. So same way we have the operators in programming languages. So JavaScript has a rich set of operators as we have in other languages. So let's see what are the various types of operators we have in JavaScript. So in JavaScript, the operators we can categorize into following category. So like we have here arithmetic operator, relational, logical or Boolean operator, bitwise, assignment operator, type operator, or conditional or ternary operator. So in the arithmetic operator, we have like plus, minus, we have multiply, we have divide, we have the modulus. So these are the operators comes into the category of arithmetic operator. Then we have relational operator like greater than equal to, smaller than equal to. So when we are comparing some values, so then we can use the relational operator. Then we have logical operator like or, and not operator. We have bitwise operator like bitwise and bitwise or and bitwise not. We have assignment operator like equal to plus, like we have equal to plus equal to asterisk equal to then modulus equal to. We have type operator as well if you want to find out the type of a variable. So in that case we can use type of, and we can use instance of as well if you want to find out the instance of a class. And we have here conditional alternative operator as well. So we have question mark and equal to. So if you want to include a condition just like we have the if else statement, then we can use conditional operator here. In the next lecture we will discuss about the precedence of all these operators. Welcome back. Let's start with if statement. An if statement consists of a Boolean expression which is executed to a Boolean value. So if the value is true, then if block would be executed, otherwise a next statement would be executed. And let's understand with the alphabet diagram. So every if statement has a condition, and that condition we define with the alphabet Boolean expression. So if that Boolean expression evaluated as true, then the if block will be executed. If the Boolean expression is evaluated to false, then the next statement will be executed. So this is the diagram. You can easily understand how it is going to be happen. So let's do one thing here, just add a file here, let's say if.js, and in the if.js file, what the code I'm just going to write here, let's check a number whether it is a even number here. So we are just want to find out whether the given number is even or not. So what I can do here, I can define here a number, let's say num equal to 4 I'm defining here. So how we can find out whether this number is even or not? I can add a if statement and then I can divide this number with 2. If it is equal to 0, then number would be here even. So let's see, use here console.log. I'm just using here even number. So let's check whether the number is even or not. I'm using here, let's say node, and it would be here if. So you can see I'm getting here the number is even. Let's say we want to find out here like whether the number is even or odd. So we are just going to check for odd possibility as well. So how we can check the odd possibility? We have to add one more if, then use here num modulus 2. If it is here greater than 0, then number would be here odd number. So let's say console.log, it would be here odd number. And this time what I have to do, I have to just change the value from 4 to 5. So 5 is a odd number. Now let's see whether I'm getting the odd number output as or not. So just use here node if. You can see this time getting here odd number because 5 is a odd number. So how it is checking the things? So first it will check for whether the number is even or not, then it will check for the next if statement. So every time it will check for these two conditions. So it doesn't mean whether the number is even or not. Every time these two if statement condition are going to be tested by the JavaScript here. So first it will divide number with 2, then check whether it is 0, then it will check again the next condition whether it is greater than 0 or not. So here the JavaScript compiler, here the JavaScript actually testing the number validity 2 times here. So both the time the if condition is going to be executed, then based upon whether it is true and false, it is giving the output to us. So this is about the if statement. Welcome back. Now let's understand if else statement. So in the last session we had done the if statement. Now let's see how it is different from if statement. So an if else statement consists of two statements. One is if statement and the second one is else statement. In the previous case we had only one statement, only if statement, but here we have two. One if statement and the second is else statement. And when the expression in an if statement is evaluated to true, then the if block would be executed, otherwise else block would be executed. And this one we can also understand with the alphabet diagram. So here you can see when the if condition is going to be executed as true, then the if block will be executed, and when the if condition is going to execute as true, then the else block will be executed. So let's understand it with the alphabet example. So if you remember in the previous example, we have used the two if statement for checking whether the number is even or odd. But instead of checking it 2 times, why not to check it only 1 time? So in that case, the else statement will help us. So just add here one more file. I'm adding the file name as like if does else.js. And the previous sample I'm just going to copy here, and in the if else what we have to do, in place of if, second if, we have to just replace here else, because here the possibility are only 2. So whether the number would be here even, whether the number would be here odd. So when there are 2 possibilities, in that case the if else statement will help you. So here the possibilities are 2, either the number is even, either the number is odd. So now let's see the same sample with the if else statement. So I'm just using here node if dash else. So you can see here I'm getting the output as odd number, but this time it is checking only one condition. So execution wise this code will be faster than the previous code, because in the previous code the condition is going to be tested 2 times, but in this code the condition is going to be tested only 1 time. So execution wise this code is faster than the previous one. If you will mention here a even number, we will get the output as even number, not if else. Now you can see this time getting here as even number. So this is about the if else statement in JavaScript. Welcome back. So let's discuss about if else if statement, like if else if ladder. So if else if statement help us to test this series of conditions with the help of multiple if else statement. So it might be the case there are multiple cases of a condition. Let's say you want to find out the grade of a student based upon the percentage. So in case of grade, you might have A plus grade, A grade, B grade, B plus grade, C grade. So here the possibility are multiples. Here we don't have only two possibility, because if you remembered in the if else statement there were only two possibility, even or odd. So there are no chance of third possibility, but here we have the chances of more than two possibility, because in the grading system it might be A plus A, B plus C, C plus plus, this way. So if else if statement help us to take decision when there are multiple possibility. So those multiple possibility we test with the help of a test of conditions. So those multiple possibilities we test a series of conditions. So in this series of condition, the statement which meet the result would be executed, and if there is no condition meeting the result, then the default else statement would be executed. So it might be the case there is. So he just do one thing, just set a JavaScript file. I'm defining JavaScript file name, let's say if else if, and else.js is my file name. And let's say you want to find out here like grade based upon the percentage of a student. So let's say if the percentage is greater than 90, so grade would be here like A plus. If percentage is greater than 70, then grade would be here A grade. A percentage greater than, let's say 50, then B grade. If percentage is greater than 30, then C grade. A percentage is less than equal to 30, then D grade. So let's see how we can write this logic and how we can simplify this grade system with the help of if else if ladder. So let's define a variable here, percentage. In the percentage I will pass the percentage for the number. So initially let's say I'm passing here 95. Now I just check for the percentage. If percentage, let's say greater than, if percentage greater than 90, so it would be here A plus grade. So A plus grade. Now just check for another grade as well, but at a time you have to check only one grade. So don't check all the grade condition every time. So I'm just mentioning here one more if. So this time the percentage would be here, let's say greater than 70, so it would be here A grade. Then mention here one more condition else, and it would be here, let's say 50. In case of 50 I'm mentioning here, let's say B grade. And let's say we have one more condition, let's say if it is greater than 30, then it will be here C grade. Else mention here D grade. So I'm just mentioning here console.log, it will be here D grade. So in this way we are checking for percentage whether it is A plus, A, B, C or D. Now let's run the code. So node, and I'm just mentioning the file name if dash else if dash else. You can see I'm getting here output as A plus grade. Now let's mention the percentage between, let's say 50 and 30. I'm mentioning here 45. So what should be the output? So output should be here C grade. So let's see, I'm getting here output as C grade. If percentage is greater than 50, let's say mentioning here 55, it would be here B grade. If it is less than or equal to 30, it would be here D grade. So let's see, I'm getting here D grade. So in this way the various condition we can simplify with the help of if else if ladder. So this is about the if else if ladder. Welcome back. Let's start with switch statement. So using the switch statement we test a series of conditions with the help of one or more cases which are tested against the switch expression. So the expression we define in our switch statement. So depend upon the execution of that expression we define more than one cases, and whatever the case is going to match with that expression evaluated value, that case would be executed here. So the case which meet the result would be executed. A result we calculate using the switch expression. When there is no case meet the result, then the default case would be executed, because every switch statement must have a default case. Just like we have the else statement in the if ladder. So let's understand with the help of a diagram. So we will have a switch statement having an expression. So whatever the value evaluated by the expression, so to handle that value we define here more than one cases, like case 1, case 2 and case 3. So if the evaluated result is going to match with the case 1, then the case 1 block would be executed. If the evaluated value will match with the case 2, then the case 2 block would be executed, and so on. If there is no matching case, then the default case block would be executed here. Let's understand the switch statement in JavaScript with the help of an example. So for this one, just add one more JS file with the name switch.js. And in this file, what the logic I'm going to write here, I want to find out here whether the given character is WOML or not a WOML. So for this one, let's define a variable, and here I'm just passing a character. Let's say A I'm passing because he is a WOML here. Now just mention here the switch. In the switch, I can mention here the variable name, then mention the case. So here I can mention the case. Let's say I'm mentioning the case here A, and for the case here I can mention, let's say console.log, and here it would be here WOML. So it is here WOML. Then use here break, then use here another case as well. So after the case, just mention here colon. So it would be here E. So here also it is WOML. So same way I'm defining here I, O, U, and one would be here a default case. So it is here for I, O and U, and this is the default case. So it is here default. In the default, I'm just mentioning here not a WOML. In the default, you don't need to mention the break because the last case. If you want to mention the break, that's also fine. So let's see what the output I'm getting here. So just use here note and switch. So you can see I'm getting output as WOML. If I will mention here, let's say P. So what should output I will get here not a WOML. You can see I'm getting here not a WOML. And you know guys, instead of writing these case separately, because the output for all the cases is same. So when all the cases are doing the same thing, so we should group the cases into the single one. So why not to group all these cases here? So instead of writing the separate console statement, we should group here. So this is the recommended practice if all the cases are doing the same thing. Now let's again execute the same thing. I'm getting the same output, not a WOML. If I will mention here, let's say I will get the output here as a WOML. And you know guys, here if I will remove this break, so what will happen if I will use the same thing? So if I will execute, you can see I'm getting the output as WOML as well as not a WOML. So what is happening here? In case of switch statement, what are the case is going to be executed as true. After that, all the cases it is going to execute in consecutive order. So better way is here to avoid the confusion. You should always mention the break after each and every case statement. If you will not mention the break, whatever the case will be executed as true. After that, all the cases are going to be executed. So break is a recommended practice when you are using in switch. And you know guys, the order of all these cases can be anything. So there is no issue with the order of labels in switch can be anything, but the order of condition in case of else if ladder we should consider. So whatever the specific order we have, we should put at the top level. What are the generalized order we have, we should put on the lower level. So always in case of if ladder, we put the generalized condition in the bottom and the specific condition at the top level. But in case of switch case, all the cases are having the same precedence. there is no issue with the switch statement here. So this is about the switch statement in JavaScript. So let's start with do while loop. So do while loop is similar to while loop, except that it evaluates the expression after the code block has been executed. So do while loop executes at least one time, and further execution depends upon the do while loop expression. And do while loop is useful when you're sure about one-time execution of your loop, and the further execution depends upon the specified condition. So you can see in the diagram, the code block is at the top level, so it will be executed at least one time. But further, this code block execution depends upon whether the do while loop condition is true or false. If it is true, it will continue its execution. If it is false, then it will be terminated. So let's understand the do while loop with the example in JavaScript with the help of example. So for this one, let's add one new file. I'm adding a file name as do-while.js, and this do-while.js file, let's write a code. So what I said to you here in do while loop, at least this loop would be executed one time. So let's see, we have a counter, and that counter value we want to show to the end user. So what I'm doing here, I'm just defining here a counter. Let's say counter equal to 0. And now let's write the do while loop. So it start from do, and here we can add our statement which we want to execute at least one time. So I'm just using here, let's say counter value, then counter. Oh, there is a spelling mistake, so it is here counter. Now here don't forget to update the counter value, because if we will not update the counter value, so how we will verify it next time? So just check here, if counter is smaller than 0, then execute this do while loop. So if you will see here, the initial value of counter is 0. This update statement would be executed, its value would be here 1, and 1 is not smaller than 0. So it will execute it only one time. So counter value it will show to us as 0. So let's verify the output. So it is here node and do-while.js. You can see I'm getting here as counter value 0. So here you can see at least one time it is going to be executed. Further execution will be decided based upon the condition here. Now here let's say I'm just changing the condition as smaller than 2. Now it will be executed 2 times. So let's see node do while. So you can see I'm getting here output as counter value 0, counter value 1, when the counter value would be 2. So 2 is not less than 2, 2 actually equal to 2. So that's why here we can use here do while loop when you want to execute our block statement at least one time, and further execution would be decided based upon the condition. So this is about the do while loop in JavaScript. Let's start with while loop. So while loop execute a statement or a block of statements until the specified expression evaluates to false. So in case of while loop, until the expression evaluates to true, it will continue its execution, and as soon as it evaluates to false, the loop will be terminated. And while loop is recommended to use when you don't know the exact number of iteration. Let's say you are accepting a number from end user, at that number digit sum you want to do. So a user might enter a 3-digit number, a user might enter the 5-digit number. So number of digits are not fixed. So in this case, we can take the benefit of while loop. So let's understand the while loop in JavaScript. So just do one thing, just add here one more file with the name while.js. And you know guys, while loop is recommended to use when you don't know the exact number of iteration for your loop. So let's understand this with the help of an example. Let's say we have a number, and that number digit sum we want to calculate, but we don't know how many digits we have in a number. A number can have 3 digits, a number can have 5 digits, a number can have 6 digits. So here we actually don't know the exact number of iteration. So that's why here the recommendation is here for while loop. So let's use here a number equal to, I'm using here, let's say 2, 4, 5, then 4, storing the sum of the digit. I'm using here a sum variable. So sum equal to 0. Now just use here a while loop. And the while loop, I'm adding a condition: if number not equal to 0, then execute this loop. Now let's find out the last digit for the number. It is here, let's say number modulus 10, and it will return the sum here, like sum plus equal to last digit. So I'm just using here plus equal to operator. So to find out the last digit, just divide the number with the 10. So it always return the last digit as a remainder. And that remainder I'm just adding it with the sum. So sum plus equal to would be equal to here, let's say sum equal to sum plus last digit. So this statement and this statement both are equivalent. So in the shortcut we can write like this way. So instead of writing here sum equal to sum plus LD, in shortcut we can write only sum plus equal to LD. Now here what the number we have, from the number we have to remove the last digit. So how I can remove the last digit? For removing the last digit, I have to divide the number from 10. But you know guys, in JavaScript, a number is a decimal and non-decimal number. It's not just like the number in Java and the C#, because if you divide a integer by integer in Java and the C#, we always get the integer value. But here we will get the decimal value. So here, instead of getting the floating type value, just parse into the integer so that we always get the integer value this way. Now let's see what the sum we are getting for our number digit. So here I'm just mentioning here like sum of given number digits is, just mention the sum here. So now let's see what the sum we have for given number digit. So sum should be here 2 plus 4 6 plus 5 11. So 11 should be sum here. Now let's check not while. So I'm getting here the sum of given number digits is 11. Perfect. Now let's change the number here. I'm just changing the number here. Let's say 2051. So now what should be the output? So output should be here 8. So now we can see here the number digits sum is 8 here. So what we are doing here, one by one we are getting the last digit from the number, and the last digit we are removing here. Then we are doing the calculation here. So here we don't know the exact number of iteration. It will be decided based upon the past numbers here. That's why the recommendation is here for while loop. So let's start with for loop. So for loops contains 3 sections: index, declaration, condition. So condition will be a Boolean expression and a update statement. You can see in the given diagram, first of all we have to initialize the for loop index, then there will be the for loop condition. So this condition evaluates to either true and the false. If the condition is true, then the code block will be executed. If condition is false, then the for loop will be terminated. So in case of true, after executing the code block, it is mandated to specify the update statement. So let's say you want to show the number from 1 to 5. So in that case, I can initialize my index. Let's say I equal to 1. And then in the for loop condition, I can specify, let's say I is smaller than equal to 5. Then in the code block, I can write a statement to print my number I. Then we have to specify the update statement. So next time we have to show the number as 2. So just we will specify the update statement as I++. So this loop will be executed until the value of I will not reach to 6. As soon as it will reach to 6, the for loop condition will become false and it will terminate it. And typically a for loop is useful when you are aware of the exact number of iteration. So in our case, we already know like our loop is going to be executed only 5 times. So when you are sure about the exact number of iteration, then use for loop. Now let's understand the for loop in JavaScript with the help of an example. So just do one thing here, just add one more file here. I'm adding here for.js. And guys, for loop is recommended to use when you already know the exact number of iteration in your loop. So let's say we want to find out the table of a given number. So for the table, I'm just defining here a number equal to, let's say, 5. So 5 number table you want to print on the screen. So what I'm doing here, I'm just adding here a message at the top level. Let's say table of given number is. So this is the message I will get. Now for showing the table, I'm just using here a for loop. I'm just using a let I equal to 1, then I is smaller than equal to 10, then I plus. So we know the tables we are just showing to the number of iteration as 10. Now I just use console.log, and here I'm just using here a template string for concatenation of the numbers and the string. So what I'm doing here, I want to show here the number. So it is here, let's say num. Then for the multiply sign, I'm using here x. Then use here the dollar. Then I. Then equal to, it would be here dollar. Then what the result I will get. So as a result, I will get here, let's say num. It is here, let's say num into I. This way. So this will show us the tables for a given number. Now let's check the output. It would be here node 4. So you can see here I'm getting the output here. Let's say I'm getting here 5 into 1, 5 into 2, 10, and 5 into 10 into 50. So in this way it is showing the table for a given number. So we already know the exact number of iteration for this block. So that's why the recommendation is here for the for loop. Even when you are manipulating an array in JavaScript, you should always use the for loop. And when you are playing with the list of data in JavaScript, we generally prefer to use for loop there, because in the array we have the length property. Using the length property, we can find out the exact number of the elements, and based upon the number of elements, we can do the iteration for that array. So this is about the for loop in JavaScript. For in loop. Let's see how the for in loop works in JavaScript. So for in loop, we can think just like we have the for each loop in other languages. So let's understand the for in loop. So for in loop operates on the object in JavaScript, and it is used to retrieve the properties from the source object in an arbitrary order. So order is not fixed here when we are using the for in loop to find out the properties values of an object. So here this is the diagram to understand the iteration of the for in loop here. So we will have a condition. In the condition, we are just checking like whether we have the property in the object or not. If property is not available, then obviously it will return false. So it is going to end the loop. But if the property is available, then do continue the execution of the code block. And the for in loop is not recommended to use with the arrays, because it iterates over both array indices and the property keys. So the for in loop is recommended to use only with object when you are going to read the properties of an object. So let's understand the for in loop with the help of an example. So for understanding the for in loop with the help of an example, let's define a file here. The file name I'm defining here, for-in.js. So this is my file name. And I'm defining here an employee. So I'm defining here an employee. So employee name I'm defining here, let's say I'm defining an employee name as Mohan. I'm defining the salary at say 12,000. I'm defining here, let's say address. So address is here, let's say Noida. So this is the employee we have defined. Now let's say if you want to find out the value for the properties of this object. So how we can get the value? Because here this is the literal syntax for defining an object in JavaScript. So let me use the for in loop. So I'm just using here for in loop. So in the for in loop, just use a let, and it is here, let's say property in, then object name employee, then show the the property value. And if you want to check what the property we have, so again I'm using here the template string. So I'm using here backticks, then dollar, then curly braces, then just check the property, then I'm just using here value. So what the property value, I'm just getting the property value here using the employee. We have to use as an array, then pass the property as a index, and this way we can get the property value here. Now let's check the output here. So just use here node and employee. The file name is here node 4-in. So you can see here I'm getting the name as Mohan, salary I'm getting here 12,000, address I'm getting here as Noida. So in this way we can iterate over an object with the help of the for-in loop. But the for-in loop we can also use with an array as well. So let's see how we can use it with an array. But with the array I don't recommend to use the for-in loop. But let's see how we can use. So let's say we have an array, and in the array we have an array for the, let's say, colors, and the colors I'm adding here, let's say red, I'm adding here, let's say blue, I'm adding here, let's say green. So we have 3 colors in an array. Now just iterate using the for-in loop. I'm just using here, let's say let key in colors. I'm just consoling the key value here, let's say console.log, then use here key. So what the key I'm getting here, and if you want to check here, let's say the key value as well, so it is a colors and then key, and this way we can check. So here what I'm doing here, I'm just adding here like equal to then plus. So you can use here string concatenation as well. You can use here template string. So template string is a new syntax in ES6, and this is the older one. So let's see what the output I'm getting here. So in the node 4-in I'm getting here for 0 index value is red, for 1 index it is blue, for 2 it is green. So in this way also we can use the for-in loop over the array as well. And even instead of following the traditional string concatenation style, we can use here the template string as well. So it is here backticks, then dollar, then use here directly equal to, then use here dollar, curly braces, then backticks. In this way we can mention we can rewrite the above statement. Now let's see what the output I'm getting here. So same output I'm getting here. So here I'm getting here red, blue and green. So in this way we can use here for-in loop with the object and with the array as well.